Hello dear friends. Probably there is not a single modern person who has not heard at least a little about Marilyn Monroe. In this video I will tell you and show you exclusive photos from a famous photographer. Watch to the end to understand what she did to become a model. This photographer. These stunning photos of the Hollywood icon Marilyn Monroe were captured by photographer John Florea during the 1950s. The mere name of Marilyn Monroe represents different images for different people. For some, it suggests the absolute standard of female sensuality, beauty, grace, sophistication. For others, insecurity comes to mind, misery, tragedy. Florea started as a photographer for the San Francisco Examiner, then was signed on to the staff of Life in 1941, living in Hollywood and specializing in celebrity portraits of actresses, such as Jane Russell and Marilyn Monroe. After the war, Florea returned to Hollywood to continue to photograph celebrities. Leaving Life in 1949, portraits of movie stars he made in color in the 1950s were part of an exhibition Masters of Starlight, Photographers in Hollywood in 1988 at the LACMA, Los Angeles. He later became producer, director, and writer for more than 130 TV shows from the mid-1960s to the mid-1980s. Florea photographed Marilyn Monroe for the first time in 1951. She had already appeared in two acclaimed movies before her 24th birthday, The Asphalt Jungle and All About Eve. 20th Century Fox recently signed her to a 7-year deal. On March 29, 1951, Marilyn presented the Academy Award for Best Sound Recording to Thomas Moulton for All About Eve. Florea photographed her that day in an elegant black gown, and the pictures were used to illustrate a feature, 1951's Model Blonde, published in Collier's that September. On June 19, Florea accompanied Marilyn on a trip to the SF Ben-Am at Long Beach, where he photographed her with sailors. She wore the black netted dress seen in As Young As You Feel. This period also yielded two of the loveliest portraits of Marilyn, lying on a rug. In one shot, she faces the camera with heavy-lidded eyes and a finger dangling from her mouth. In another shot, she rests her hand on her head and looks up in angst. Monroe was already a gifted model, but she had yet to find the great portrait photographers who would transform her from starlet to goddess. Most of her publicity shots from this period fit the cheesecake mold, and Florea was happy to play along. Marilyn posed on a rock in a tight-fitting bathing suit, with one strap pulled down. Other sessions showed Florea's sense of mischief. For one shoot, Marilyn sat at a dressing table, clad in a negligee, pouting sulkily as the telephone rang. Another series depicts Marilyn by a roaring log fire, clad in thermal underwear. It was snapped up by men's magazines that winter, seemingly proving that she could look sexy in anything. Throughout 1953-54, Florea photographed Marilyn on the set of her movies. During the filming of Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, she posed in character as gold-digging Lorelei Lee, sitting cross-legged and counting a pile of money. Monroe had previously posed topless or clad in a bikini for other artists such as Earl Warren, and felt comfortable with nudity. Shortly after leaving Columbia, she also met and became the protege and mistress of Johnny Hyde, the vice president of the William Morse Agency. Through Hyde, Monroe landed small roles in several films, including in two critically acclaimed works, Joseph Mankiewicz's drama All About Eve, 1950, and John Huston's film noir The Asphalt Jungle, 1950. Despite her screen time being only a few minutes in the latter, she gained a mention in photoplay and, according to biographer Donald Spoto, moved effectively from movie model to serious actress. In December 1950, Hyde negotiated a 7-year contract for Monroe with 20th Century Fox. According to its terms, Fox could opt to not renew the contract after each year. Hyde died of a heart attack only days later, which left Monroe devastated. In 1951, Monroe had supporting roles in 3 moderately successful Fox comedies, As Young As You Feel, Love Nest, and Let's Make It Legal. According to Spoto, all 3 films featured her essentially as a sexy ornament, but she received some praise from critics. Bosley Crowther of the New York Times described her as superb in As Young As You Feel, and Ezra Goodman of the Los Angeles Daily News called her one of the brightest up-and-coming actresses for Love Nest. Her popularity with audiences was also growing. She received several thousand fan letters a week and was declared Miss Cheesecake of 1951 by the Army newspaper Stars and Stripes, reflecting the preferences of soldiers in the Korean War. In February 1952, the Hollywood Foreign Press Association named Monroe the best young Thank you for watching. Put like so that I would continue to look for exclusive rare photos. You can also look at other interesting videos on my channel.